quite negative about the outcome. What's your problem with it?
The problem is that the 2015 INDC exercise, as you can read in the document itself, produces 55 gigatons by 2030. They didn't put in the document, as we had requested, that puts us on a track to 3 degrees. They didn't put that in. But they did put in the 55 gigatons, and they did put in also that to hit the 2-degree target, you would need 40 gigatons, which is a 2-degree track. We don't know what the 1.5 degree track is because the IPCC, the scientific panel, hasn't done that study yet. It's requested to do so. But as it now stands, we're going to go to 55 gigatons. What is proposed in this document? Do a stock taking in 5 years to see how it's coming along, and then another INDC process in 2025. That would mean that we're working after the fact. We have to break climate change up front. This is kicking the can down the road. This is postponing the problem rather than solving the problem. And we have to solve climate change up front because all we can do, sir, is break the rise. Once the climate change has taken place and the world has gone to 3 degrees, we can't turn that back. We have to put the brake on before it reaches 3 degrees. But also remember that 3 degrees is an average, worldwide average. So that means 4 and 5 degrees in our countries. And 4 to 5 degrees in our countries is catastrophic. In the Sahel, in Central America, in Southern Asia with the floods, in Southeast Asia with the typhoons. I wish that we would recall that we have a 1 degree world now. Last week, Michel Giraud of the World Meteorological Organization told us that the 400 parts per million of greenhouse gas that were measured in Mauna Loa last year are now all around the world, and that we've reached the 1 degree above the pre-industrial level. What do we have at 1 degree? All of the ice is melting everywhere. Arctic ice, Antarctic ice, Greenland ice, mountain glaciers. We have 4-year droughts in southern United States, southern Iberia, southern Australia, southern Africa. We have one of the strongest Niños on record. In Central America, we lost crops this year. We're going to lose crops next year. And they also tell us that this is the hottest year on record. That's with 1 degree. Can you imagine playing around with the possibility of going to 3 degrees? That is catastrophic. The difference between 1 degree and 3 degree is not 3 times because these things progress exponentially. So that is a serious issue for Mother Earth and for humankind that we wanted to place on the record and raise consciousness that we must do much more here and now and not adopt an indolent strategy of waiting to see what happens in 10 years. When the level of ambition is gauged to 3 degrees, we're not going to be closer to 2 degrees. We're going to be further on. Besides that, just to finish the answer in your next question, that 25% of the commitments in the INDCs are conditional on finance. That's 50% with agriculture. That finance is nowhere to be seen. If that finance doesn't appear, we go further on from 50 gigatons, further on from 3 degrees.
For those who aren't across all the technical details, what does this deal mean for your country?
To my country, it can mean the loss of over half of our coffee growing area. At 2 degrees, CIAT, the Center for Agriculture in the Tropics in San Jose, Costa Rica, did a survey of our current coffee growing area. It's our #1 export. And what it would look like in 2050 with the 2 degree increase. And the area is reduced to less than half, only the highest areas. It would mean that our beans and our corn get out of the range of temperature and precipitation for maximum yield. This is affecting our food security. It would mean a greater rotation of El Nino, which brings us droughts, and La Nina, which brings us floods. We already have at 1 degrees 1,000 households we had to build in Nicaragua called Villa Dignidad to house refugees, internally displaced people from the flooding of Tropical Depression 12E. We are suffering damages every year. And that's why President Ortega in the United Nations on the 1st of October demanded that there be indemnization from those countries that have caused this phenomenon to the countries that are suffering the consequences year by year.
When there was all the jubilation and all the hugs as the document was adopted, what was your reaction?
Oh, I was thinking about the people in Europe having longer time for vacation. September and October will be nice and warm. You can grow bananas in Europe instead of importing them from the other countries. You can also have a lower heating cost in Europe. You'll have maybe higher yields in some products. You'll get more areas you can grow in Russia, in Canada. You'll be able to cross the Arctic on boats without ice. You'll be able to drill for more oil in the Arctic. A lot of people are really enthused about that, so that then you can create more problems. And when you're doing this, of course, in the Arctic, you're escaping methane gas, which is 21 times more powerful than CO2, that's accelerating the phenomenon. So while Europe is applauding that, we are boiling, we are being fried, and it's not a nice comparison. But I think that we need more empathy for the situation in the Sahel, in Central America, the small island states, and the consequences of climate change for them.
Thank you.
Sorry, can you just give me the first thing? What is your objection? Who are you and what is your objection?
I'm the Minister, Private Secretary for National Policy of the Presidency of the Republic of Nicaragua. And our objection is we do not want a 3-degree world. We want a 1.5-degree world. We want indemnization for the countries that are suffering the damages. They even asked, this is another important point, in Article 52, on top of not wanting to pay indemnizations, they ask that we renounce payments for liabilities and for compensation. So we not only go to a 3-degree world, we're supposed to renounce payments that our grandchildren and great-grandchildren might ask for through indemnization, through litigation, to get compensation for damages done to their crops, damages done to their livelihoods. And, this would be like BP asking the people to please forgive our liabilities and forgive our compensations for the oil spills that we've incurred in. So that doesn't work that way. And we think that is absolutely unacceptable. So we put a proviso in at the end also that nothing in this document that we want in there, nothing in this document in any way waives any of our rights under the Convention or international law for the wrongful acts of states. Why should we forgive the liabilities of countries that do damage to us? That makes no sense whatsoever. Thank you.
You spoke very powerfully in the hall, actually, after the